If all of these conditions overlap with adult ADHD so clearly, why does misdiagnosis keep happening? There are 5 reasons for that. First, ADHD has no objective biomarker. No blood test, no brain scan, no genetic marker. Diagnosis is based entirely on behavior observation and self-report, uniquely vulnerable to interpretation and time pressure. Second, screening tools are being treated as diagnostic tools. The ADHD questionnaires used in most settings were diagnosed to identify who might need further evaluation, not to make the diagnosis. But a high score on a 5-minute questionnaire frequently becomes the diagnosis itself. Researchers have found that in some clinical populations, 86% of positive screens are wrong. Third, time pressure. In primary care and telehealth, a clinician may have 15 to 20 minutes, known time for developmental history, trauma assessment, or blood work. The checklist becomes the diagnosis by default. Fourth, the social media effect. 1 in 4 American adults now suspects they have undiagnosed ADHD, much of it driven by short-form video content that describes common human experiences in ADHD-specific language. Greater awareness has helped many people access care, but the speed of rising stimulant prescribing along shorter assessment timelines raises serious concerns about diagnostic quality. Fifth, gender and demographic bias. Women with ADHD are on average diagnosed 5 years later than men. Women more often present with inattentive type, less visible, less disruptive, and their symptoms are more frequently attributed to anxiety, depression, or hormonal changes. Many women arrive at an ADHD diagnosis only after years of being treated for conditions they may not have had. At the same time, people of color are less likely to be assessed for ADHD and more likely to have their symptoms attributed to behavioral issues. ADHD is simultaneously overdiagnosed in some populations and underdiagnosed in others. Both are harmful, both are happening right now. So what does an accurate adult ADHD assessment actually require? Use this as your checklist. If you received a diagnosis without these steps, it may be worth seeking a second opinion. Number 1, a comprehensive clinical interview. Not a questionnaire, a real conversation covering your developmental history, family history, work and academic history, trauma history, relationship patterns, and the timeline of when symptoms appeared. ADHD is a lifelong condition. There should be evidence going way back to childhood or early adolescence. Number 2, information from more than one source. A partner, family member, or longtime friend who observes you across different environments. Self-report alone is not sufficient. Number 3, a basic medical workup. Thyroid function, TSH, iron levels, specifically ferritin, blood glucose, and a real sleep assessment. 1 blood draw, 10 minutes of thoughtful questions, it can change the entire picture. Number 4, differential diagnosis. A deliberate review of anxiety, mood disorders, trauma, sleep disorders, personality features, and medical conditions. The question is not, does this person have ADHD symptoms? Because many people do. The question is, what is actually causing these symptoms? Number 5, in complex cases, neuropsychological testing. A structured battery of objective cognitive and attentional tests administered by a psychologist, the gold standard. Number 6, more than 1 clinical encounter before a diagnosis is assigned. 1 appointment is not enough. A thorough assessment is not a luxury. It is the minimum standard of care. Now let me bring this back to what we've been building in this series. If you've been watching from video 1, you already have tools. Breathwork for nervous system regulation, EFT for processing difficult emotions directly through the body, and you got heart center stillness. Here is why those tools matter in the context of everything just taught you. The conditions most commonly misdiagnosed as adult ADHD, anxiety, unprocessed trauma, chronic stress, sleep disruption, emotional dysregulation, are precisely the conditions that respond powerfully to the approaches we've been discussing. EFT has over 200 published studies, 9 meta-analyses. Its strongest evidence is for anxiety, PTSD, and cortisol reduction, the exact conditions being mislabeled as ADHD in adults every day. If your ADHD is actually anxiety, the tapping protocol from video 1 can help. If your ADHD is actually unprocessed trauma, trauma-focused energy psychology works directly with the body's stored stress response. If your ADHD is actually a nervous system that never learned to feel safe, the body-mind-soul integration we practice in psychoanalysis is designed for exactly that. I'm not telling you to stop taking your medication. I'm not diagnosing you through a screen. What I'm saying is this: if something about your diagnosis has never quite felt right, if the stimulant helps a little but doesn't solve the underlying problem, if you've always sensed there was something beneath the label that nobody took the time to look at, you might be right. And the tools to address what's actually there are more accessible than you think. This is the clinical message of this video, and it is at the heart of what psychoanalysis is built for. Not just treating the label, but seeing the whole person: body, mind, energy, soul. Today you learned that adult ADHD overlaps symptomatically with at least 7 other conditions: anxiety, trauma and PTSD, sleep disorders, thyroid dysfunction, depression and bipolar disorder, borderline personality features, cognitive disengagement syndrome. You learned that nearly 90% of adults who screen positive may not actually have ADHD, and that even the drug trials supporting adult medication for ADHD have serious diagnostic flaws. You learned what a thorough assessment should include, and you now have 6-point checklist to evaluate whether your own assessment met that standard. Here's what I want you to do. First, download the free 5-tip daily practice guide from video 1 and join my mailing list. EFT tapping diagram, 478 breathwork, daily template, link in the description. It's free. Second, share this video with one person, a partner, a friend, someone who has been struggling with a diagnosis that doesn't feel right. Remember, a diagnosis is only as good as the assessment behind it. A label is not a life sentence, and you always have the right to ask better questions about what is actually happening inside of you.